All right, good morning. So today we're going to talk about expected value and residuals. And I'm not going to bore you with all the mathematical equations. Ostensibly, you've already taken a look at that. But when we talk about expected value in its simplest form, we're talking about average. Now, the average, again, is the simplest form, average and weighted average, arithmetic average and weighted average. There's also geometric average, but we're not going to do that today. But we can use a variety of other models to do the same thing. Know that we're going in that direction. Here, I've pulled some grades from an old class and anonymized them. And what we're going to do here is take the simple average, which you've done a bunch of, I'm sure, in the past, right? I'm going to do it down here at the bottom, and I'm going to use the function for average. Clearly, I didn't do that right. Tab. Average, thank you, tab. And then I'm just going to say, hey, Excel, calculate the average of all of these guys. So here's the final grade for a bunch of students. And I'm like, well, what is the class average? And 85.8 is the class average. That's to be expected. So if you were to walk up to me and say, Dr. Garcia, if I were to take your class, what grade would I get? The answer is 85. You'd get an 80 rounded, right? 86. And that's fine. Are you going to get an 86? Probably not. You're probably going to get higher or lower. And you can see here, nobody got an 86, right? But the expectation is what we're trying to get after many times when we're making business decisions. We don't know what the exact answer is going to be, but we have an expected value. And you're often going to see that with this kind of phrasing, E of X, right? And in our case, E of X is going to be that 85.8. I'm going to lock this up with an F4 function so that the E of X goes for everyone. And this isn't, this isn't super complicated. We're saying for every student, student 1, student 2, student 3, we expected that student to get an 85. Now the difference between their actual grade and the expected grade is referred to as the residual. And that is calculated by exactly what I said. The actual grade the student gets minus the expected grade the student gets, and then we pull this down for everyone. You can see very quickly that we can now kind of measure out where students are. And in Excel, we can do some other fancy stuff like, not data bars, maybe some color scales. Let's say blue and red. Yeah, I like blue and red, right? And we can see where the students did better than expected or lower than expected very quickly. Nobody got close to that 85. There's no, I guess this one did. This one B did. So this one kid is close to, as close as possible to our expectations. But, most students did very, very well because they did all their homework. And then the other ones that didn't care so much got downgraded to C's and D's, right? And so the point is that this average, when we do it very simplistically, is equal to our expected value, right? I could have kept this one here instead of spreading it out, but I wanted time to make the point. Now, this is a little simplistic, and the reality is that most of the time we do something that's a little bit more complicated. This is a real portfolio that I pulled from one of my clients. I've changed the numbers of the actual market value, but the weights are real. This is a portfolio that I use, that I have used, and here is a portfolio that we have just kind of come up with. I do use some of these mutual funds, but this is not real. And so we've created some weights for the different portfolios. So just so you know, these are mutual funds. This particular fictitious person has invested $250,000. And here's a bunch of percentages that describes how much of that portfolio is in each one of these mutual funds. So in the case of DFUSX, this guy has 18.27% of his portfolio in that particular mutual fund, right? This column describes the one-day change of that portfolio. Let me find a good color. There are no good colors here. This guy describes the 1 day change. So from yesterday to today, or really 2 days ago to yesterday, we had a fairly good day in the stock market, and these guys went up and down, except for this dude. And we kind of want to see what this portfolio has done, not just the individual assets. In this case, we need to do a weighted average instead of a simple arithmetic average, because if I simply take the average of all of the per day changes, it doesn't really reflect what's happening in the entire portfolio. For example, this guy and this guy make up the biggest chunks, and so the return for this guy and the return for this guy, these two in particular, are going to have greater effect on the total average. In this case, instead of doing the weighted average, and I know that Excel has a weighted average function, that's fine. If you know it, you can use it. What I'm going to do is multiply them together. So the weight of that asset, in this case cash, gets a 0% return, times the return of that asset for that particular day gives me 0.0. That's a terrible example. But if I pull this down, then I get the next one and the next one and the next one. And if I pull this all the way down, I now know that how much each particular asset's daily return affected the overall portfolio's daily return. I can add all of these up. Sum 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 if you count cash, and add them up to an average daily return, not average, that's not true, to the actual daily return here of 69%, right? So if the client were to walk up with this portfolio and say, hey, how much did my portfolio do yesterday? We'd have to look at each one of these, multiply these guys together, and then add them all up. That's my 69. This is now my expected value. This is now my expected value, but in finance, we call it the expected return, right? Let me move that over to the right so we can see it. That's what that guy represents. In this case, it's the actual return, but we do it kind of on a daily basis. What's interesting about doing this calculation is that now we can do something very similar. And by the way, you saw me do expected value, E of X. You're going to see that a lot in your stats class. In finance, we do E of R, or the expected return. You'll see that a lot in your finance class, right? My expected return there, that is not what I wanted. Yeah, okay. My expected return then is that 0.69. Now I could leave it alone or whatever, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it up like I brought it up before, kind of to let me take this. You're not supposed to see this quite yet. What the heck, I'll leave it in there. So that they're all the same. Let me get rid of the conditional formatting. And I do that by clearing out the rules. There we go. I'm going to here calculate out my residuals for each. Now I've got to be careful because I don't want to do this calculated value. This is part of my calculations. I want to look at the actual price change minus expected return. So my actual return for that day for cash was 0. Again, that's not a great example. We'll do the next one. Minus expected return, and that one's terrible. The actual return for this particular mutual fund on this one day minus the expected or average return, weighted average return for the entire portfolio is something closer to this. I can pull them all down. And then I love Excel's ability to do this color scale thing real quick. I'm going to go to greens and reds to signify cash and loss. And now I have this measurement that says, hey, look, these two guys, and I know I can look at this and it tells me, hey, these two guys did very, very well. And that's great. But it's very nice to be able to turn around and measure out these residuals to see how far away from expectation you actually are.